Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Trevor Connor with us. He's CEO at Arts and Minds. This pod is presented to you by podbar.com, my podcasting company, if you want to start your own and scale. Trevor, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about Hearts and Minds and yourself.
Sure. We are a sports psychology based company and team. We're based out of Houston, Texas. I've been in the field of mental training for, I believe, about 2011 is when I got my start. So coming up on 12, 13, 14 years, somewhere around there.
Very cool. And who do you coach precisely?
Yeah, we work with athletes, teams, businesses, individuals that have a desire to get better. The number one client that we have is an athlete or individual, even a business professional who has a desire to get better. They just don't know how. That's where we come in and we help them.
So why wouldn't they know how? Let's say that they read books, podcasts, they implement a couple of things and A/B tests. Why wouldn't they know how? They just don't see the results anymore, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna pay someone for that."
Sometimes there's a lot of things that happen in sport and life that just flat don't go as planned. And one of the most efficient, when you're studying high performance individuals and people, a lot of them will attribute some of their greatest leaps and bounds of their success in their journey based on the coaching that they receive or the mentorship that they receive. We help a lot of people get past stumbling blocks and plateaus and performance gaps, lack of confidence, anxiety, you name it. So, the athletes and individuals that we work with, it is very wide, very diverse. Um, that's why I say that if you have a desire to get better and you have a desire to improve, that's exactly the kind of ideal client that we're after.
Any types of athletes you're working with? Any verticals in particular?
Yeah, so we have just about every sport that exists in North America I've worked with in the last 13, 14 years, all the way down to equestrian riding, darts, billiards. We have a lot of athletes in tennis, golf, basketball, baseball, track and field, football, you name it. In the corporate space, we have a handful of CEOs, board members, executives that we work with and we retain. Uh, Again, they have a desire to get better. They don't know how. There's a lot of sales teams that have this innate desire to improve upon what they're already doing. And if you think about it, the greatest athletes, they're thinking differently. And why can't we apply that same principle, that same thought pattern to our executives, to our sales professionals, to our corporate attorneys and dentist groups, uh, anybody that's under high stress and performance matters and is on the line, they can improve.
And what common challenges do you see in athletes? Let's start with them because I see a confidence
Mm-hmm.
program. Seems to me that these athletes would be at the beginning of their career, or maybe their whole career they motivated themselves with a lack of confidence. I'm not good enough, and that propelled them to unprecedented heights. So, what challenges, what mental flaws do some of your clients entertain?
Sure. Confidence is certainly one of those areas that we get asked a lot on. Same with being consistent. You could have an amazing performance. Today's Thursday. You could have an amazing performance tonight. And then tomorrow you wake up, you're just not feeling up for the game, the match, and you perform a little bit poorer, a little bit under prepared. So, confidence is one of the areas that we get asked a lot of questions on. Same with consistency. Same with an athlete or individual struggling with performing under pressure. So performance anxiety is one of those areas. So we are, after being able to equip athletes and individuals with mental skills to help combat some of these performance areas and woes. Um, a skill such as, applying great self-talk techniques under pressure can help an individual maintain high levels of confidence. Being able to understand that, hey, my body language needs a drastic improvement right now in order to help me perform better is something that we can train in real time.
Right. And with low performances, I mean, sometimes the body it goes through season. I guess the problem is when the mind reinforces that this will last forever and I'm not good. And next thing you know, you ruined your whole career, not because your body was going through a 3 months down but because you just repeated yourself over and over that you suck. And guess what? Your mind starts believing its own bullshit and the body too. And next thing you know, you're on the bench.
Right. Right. Fortunately, that happens. And what's really sad is athletes, by and large, we're our worst critics. It doesn't matter as much as social media. Yeah, that has an influence. Doesn't matter as much as the newspaper and the real media says. That matters too. But I mean, at the end of the day, and this is what I tell all my athletes, you are your own best mental coach. And the reason why is because you live with you 100% of the time. Nobody else. So I'm not your best mental coach. Your coach isn't. Your mom and dad isn't. Your friends. You are your own best mental coach. So that inner critic obviously lives in us, and being able to show some self compassion goes a long way in order to perform at a high level.
Right, because it's all about the data that you have in your own mind. Let's say that if your dad repeated one thing when you were young and you reinforce that thing for 15 years, then next thing you know, you have that negative voice in your head, for example. And sometimes it's hard to control that voice, but yeah, you can certainly deal with it. You can also limit the output of similar voices to that negative one, and you can replace some thoughts with some others. But it's quite hard to become a Jedi of the mind because you need to practice quite a lot. You need to be patient with yourself as well because change doesn't happen overnight. Um, your athletes, for example, what do they commonly fail to achieve in their career? Let's say that we're February now, they just set their goals. Top three. Which one of those three goals that they normally set would normally fail in their career?
Sometimes, sometimes the most challenging goal that an athlete has that they set is one that's just a little too far out. There's nothing wrong with setting long term goals, but there's a lot of science and evidence that supports that we need to set short to medium range goals that are challenging, but they're within reach. And I think one of the dangers I'm seeing with my younger athletes now is they're 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, and they're setting goals when that they can't possibly achieve until they're 20, 21, 22. And it's good to have that. It's good to have that long-term vision. But a lot of athletes, they'll have that long-term vision, then they'll completely forget about what they need to do from now until the next 2 weeks. Well, we need to stack up multiple successful days in order to get the years that we're after achieving. And, we can't put the cart before the horse. So one of the challenges I see in specifically goal setting is young people that they're setting big, audacious goals, but they're not doing a good enough job being effective backing it up with what are you doing today? What are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing the next day? And being able to have a short-term mindset and vision. And I don't know if it's because we live in a instant gratification culture. It's a microwave culture, if you will, where, I want success, I want it now. But that is one of the areas where I see an area that can be improved upon is setting, short to medium range, very intentional goals that have definite challenge and appeal to them, but things that are, within achievement range.
Right. We all have different brains, but mine certainly works well with the calendar. So how about they just segment this goal with a couple of recurring actions in their calendar? Do you have your athletes use these systems?
Sometimes, what I wish I could say that there is a one size fits all, but unfortunately, there isn't. Everybody is competing on a different time scale. Different goals have different timelines. Some athletes are really, really close to their breakthroughs, and other athletes are a long ways away. Um, there's a really good principle. It's been around a long time that is very effective when you're doing goals. It's called the SMART principle: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So being able to incorporate time into, by when will I achieve this by goes a long way to be able to help the internal and external motivational factors, helping you, get closer to where you want to be. So time certainly plays a role. To to, your point about calendars and systems, some athletes, they've never even seen a calendar. Other athletes, they live by them. I personally, I use them a lot, obviously because of business and work, and well, and again, I'm also done competing, and I'm an adult now, so
What were you competing in?
yeah. I used to be growing up in high school. I competed in every sport my small town had to offer, from a team-based sport, and then I went to college, played college baseball.
Interesting. And yeah, some of your athletes' brain, if they're young, maybe they work in Instagram style, because they're always like scrolling up and down. So your app, what does it do exactly for them?
Sure. So the app, we've been in the app space now for 3 years, actually coming up on 3.5 years, almost four. Um, the name of the app is Focus 5. And what we discovered was towards the end of COVID, there's a tremendous need to help athletes be proactive towards their mental approach. The idea of just working with a mental coach or just being mentally fit, uh, from a pure reactive standpoint, because there's a problem. Oftentimes, people, when they need us, it's often too late, because what if we could get to them on the proactive side before there's a problem, before there's a challenge, before there's an adversity, we can be very, very, very effective applying some mental skills. So we discovered back in 2020, the turn of 2020 into 2021, again post COVID, that we could be really efficient helping athletes be intentional with their brain training with 5 minutes a day. So we want 5 intentional brain training minutes a day to help you improve and be more resilient, have a greater adversity tolerance, have better and improved levels of concentration. Whatever your goal is, but just the fact of being with deliberate practice and being intentional, 5 minutes a day goes a long way. So the app covers many things, including providing a wealth of resources and content. And I think the coolest part, Charles, is we have a live direct message response system where an athlete, be even on the free side of the app, they can send a direct message and a DM to us, and in real time we're able to answer them at no cost to them.
What about like a coach GPT in which they could ask any questions with their own data, and the coach GPT would have data about their sports and other athletes, data in their specific sports, and give them answers instantly at any time of the day.
That'd be really neat to be able to try and integrate some artificial intelligence services in. But one of the things that I think makes this really unique is, there's a live person behind the keyboard at all times. Myself and my other mental coaches were able to respond in real time, as long as we're not in another session. So artificial intelligence is definitely definitely a service that is only expanding and only growing, but that's something that, right now for the foreseeable future, we don't have plans to integrate.
Right, and the accountability of knowing that there's a real person at the other side is quite great as well. What do you have as your goals, Trev, for this year?
So one of the goals that we have is, we're after growing our app. Um, the other, not just from a user standpoint, but also from a functionality. We've been in beta for about 3 years. The goal is by Q4 of this year to move out of beta into, more of a permanent structure of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve. In order to do that, we need athletes. So we have a very nominal goal of, we're looking at after about 10,000 athletes to join our app by the end of Q4 this year. And with that, we want to be really planting our flag in the space of mental training of, this is a game changing, app and piece of technology that's able to bring an element of training that was always reserved for the elite athlete, or the extreme high end athlete that is, got deep pockets. We're bringing this down to the masses, all the way down to a high school and junior high level, which they never previously had access to.
Really cool. And where can people find out more about you?
Sure. Go to www.hmperform.com and you can learn a lot more about us there. I'm very easy to get a hold of. You can drop me an email, Trevor@hmperform.com.